Mark, back with Overcaffeinated. If you've not watched it before, we say it's like The View, but not terrible. So we try to do a better version of that. And we're coming to you virtually with, honestly, our most famous guest ever. We've had two governors on, and we've had a country music singer who's had a bunch of awards. But on social media, nobody beats this guy. So he is an entrepreneur, Emmy winner, social media star, and auto mechanic, and a new Tennessee resident. We would like to welcome Scotty Kilmer. Thanks for joining us, Scotty.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And when I say he's a star, too, I mean, this guy has like almost 4 million subscribers. Like, he's not a star in the way, like, we're happy when we get 100,000 views on something. He has 4 million. That's incredible. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about coffee. So Scotty, you're a big coffee guy, right? So tell me, and I thought, I'm like, oh, maybe he's a man of the people. Maybe he drinks coffee station or gas station coffee. You drink pretty fancy coffee. Tell me about what you're drinking.
No, I like Ethiopian coffee. We grind our own beans. My wife likes organic coffee. I cannot stand coffee that tastes like water. And most people make it like water. It's the worst coffee in the world. Generally, you got to make your own. We got an espresso machine. We got our own stuff. We make cold brew. I want real coffee that's got actual caffeine in it, not some watered down thing.
Well, there you go.
Years ago, I do business in Seattle. Years ago, that was good coffee in Seattle. But hey, those companies, once they get involved, like Starbucks, their coffee's crap too now.
That's right. Hey, I don't know if you're gonna like this, but this is I got some Krispy Kreme coffee. That's what I'm drinking. So there's a lot of caffeine in it, but it's a little bit. Justin's not a fan.
Mark always drinks the frou-frou coffee that has all kinds of flavors in it. So I go as far away from Seattle.
All black, straight black.
That's true. Yeah. All the way from as far away from Seattle in the US as you can get. We get this Cuban coffee queen from Key West, Florida. It's amazing coffee. This is a newer one. It's their Key West Sunrise that I'm trying today. And I've got it in shout out to Sue Zoldak, who's worked with us on a number of issues. I'm drinking out of her mug today. So giving her a little love.
Well, so we got our caffeine here. So Scotty, your video I just watched about why your mechanic's better than a politician was excellent. You really showed the difference. When you're a bad mechanic, you don't get business back. When you're a bad politician, it doesn't matter. People keep voting for you.
That's right. That's right.
So moving on, one of the things that happened last week was President Trump, before he left office, issued a number of pardons and commutations, including the rapper Lil Wayne. One person that was not pardoned was Tiger King's Joe Exotic, the star of that show. So my question is, I think we all want to see Joe Exotic out of jail. If you could exchange him with any celebrity for any reason, what celebrity would you put in jail? I'm going to go with Barbara Streisand. She just annoys me for no reason. So Scotty, you can exchange Joe Exotic, get Joe Exotic out of jail, and you can put any celebrity in jail for any reason. Who's your choice?
Who would it be? Barbara Waters.
Oh, Barbara Waters. Oh, interesting. Not a fan of her. A lot of Barbaras getting thrown around.
Yeah.
Why do you pick her?
Oh, yeah. She's just another media shill who, they try to get sensational stuff. I worked for about 15 years for CBS television doing a Crank It Up car show. And I saw the behind the scenes of what goes on in media. And I realized that all they want is people to watch them, and they'll say any sensational BS. They don't care what the truth is, as long as they can sucker people into watching what they're doing. They never tell you the real story behind the scenes, and they act like, they're giving news. They're not giving news. They're just putting on a story that, and they act like it's, some big deal. And they'll have 30 people involved in a half-hour story. I mean, it's nuts. They should all be in.
So, Justin, what's your pick? Who are you putting in jail?
Probably Jason Isbell. There's so many people who are like, oh, he's got the best music in the world. We love it. And I just can't stand him. And he's smug and he's self-righteous. And I know all musicians think they have to share their political views with us these days, but he's just particularly adamant about it. And I just, if there's somebody that deserves it, I think it's him.
Okay, well, that could have been about me other than the musical part, so I'm glad that we
That's true, yeah. But then I'd have to replace you. I'd have to find somebody else to do this.
That's right, yeah, you don't want to pay them. So if you've watched any of Scotty's videos, you'll see that he doesn't like nonsensical regulations and bureaucracy. And you talk specifically about Tennessee and the lack of testing for emissions and yearly inspections. That's one of the reasons that you picked to live here. And also brought up a weird motorcycle law. I didn't know they go through red lights. But one of Beacon's big issues in the coming years is making Tennessee the #1 place in the U.S. for entrepreneurs and innovators by eliminating unnecessary red tape and bureaucracy like you talked about. So I'm interested to hear from both of you ways that you think that Tennessee can appeal even more to people, innovators and makers like you, Scotty, all the way to people like Elon Musk. What can we do that's even better to make people want to come here to start businesses?
Well, it's already being done this year, or last year, for the first time ever. Tennessee was the state that had the most people moving into it. They studied the U-Hauls who went there because of the lack of people stopping people from doing certain businesses, a nice atmosphere that isn't people all piled on top of each other. My wife and I watch a bunch of YouTube videos of these English feuding neighbors. And my wife says, "Yeah, I said, look why they're always feuding, because there's too many of them in a small place. And they're on top of each other, next to each other. And of course, there's going to be a problem. Here, there's so much space for everybody that it's much better set up. The land isn't taken. I mean, you can still buy lakefront property cheap enough and build a place there if you want. In the rest of the country, you can't. I mean, lakefront property there will go for $2 to $3 million an acre. And it's already set up for it. It's just a matter of, who wants to come in. And with coronavirus and stuff, now people find out you don't need to be anywhere particular in time. I mean, there's no difference between making videos here than I did in downtown Houston, other than the background. You can do it anywhere. And I met some computer guys here that moved to Nashville, and they're doing their stuff in Nashville, and they like it a lot better in California. So I think they're already doing it.
Plus you can keep Wilbur the pig there, right? Yeah. So Justin, I mean, outside of, how do we bring people, I mean, obviously we're doing a good job, like Scotty said, most people are moving to Tennessee. How do we make it even more attractive for people like Scotty to Elon Musk to come here?
Well, first we have to just continue to keep regulations low and keep that red tape from strangling, particularly new business. I mean, it's hard to start a new business already. And so rules that prohibit you from owning a home business like Nashville did until recently, to having to get a license to do all of these different jobs. And just, if you strangle businesses with red tape, then they're not going to be successful. So get the government out of their way at the state level and at the local level. We've done a really good job, as Scotty said, at the state level. And that's shown, like, people are moving here in droves. And it's because we're a low tax, low regulation state. But if we don't continue that trend at the local level, particularly in urban areas like Memphis and Nashville, that tend to embrace more big government policies, then that could be harmful. And so we've got to keep an eye on those kinds of things and create that environment where not just innovators move here and be successful, but we create the next Elon Musk from Tennessee, because it's such an economically free environment to start and grow a business.
Oh, yeah. And if you went the opposite, I went to school in Toronto for my undergraduates, and I had a friend there, Joe. When he graduated, he opened a bar downtown Toronto on Yonge Street. And after about 5 years, he said, "Scotty, I'm quitting. I'm working for the Canadian government." He said, "I pay so many taxes on everything that even though I'm pulling in $2 million a year, I'm spending almost all of it on government taxes, regulations, the health care for my workers and stuff." He quit and he got on his motorcycle and he drove around for years instead.
That's awful.
That does sound like more fun. And I don't know if you saw, but the person who made Bernie Sanders mittens, it was a viral meme. She said she can't stay in business because there's too much federal government bureaucracy for her to stay in business. The same person who made the gloves for Bernie Sanders, which is a huge cultural thing right now. But here's a fun question. It's related to Tennessee and the federal government. If you can get rid of one law tomorrow, any law you want, and you can just sign a paper and get rid of it, which law would you get rid of? Scotty, do you have a law that you hate particularly a lot?
Well, I wish they would actually make a new law that you couldn't be a politician if you're over 70 years old. Because they're just picking them with old guys they can't talk, they don't know what they're doing. And of course, the graft and corruption of years and years and years and years of these guys being in there I think they should have a limit on it because anybody faces it. Hey, I'm only 67, but I got to admit, I'm not probably 80% as sharp as I used to be. And if I was 85, I guarantee you I wouldn't be as sharp as I was. You can't keep those people in, yet they just keep throwing them in because they've already been bought and paid for. So why should they buy somebody new off? They can just keep the old guy and get what they want.
That's right. So not term limits, but age limits. And if you remember, the top 3 candidates, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, were all, I think, substantially over that age. So, I mean, I think it's a good point. Now, Justin, what about you? One law you can get rid of tomorrow, and if you want to keep bars open 24 hours a day, I'm fine with that too. But what is your choice for the law to get rid of tomorrow?
That's a pretty compelling. Though I love my sleep, so I can drink. I can day drink. Mine is not actually a law, but it's a Supreme Court ruling that ultimately allows Congress to delegate all of its authority to the executive branch, and that has caused this massive, monstrous administrative state where faceless bureaucrats get to dictate our lives. I mean, it's rare that you can go through a day without committing some federal crime. And most of the time you have no idea because it's just massive amounts of rules. If Congress had to actually pass laws, it's much harder to do than some bureaucrat passing a rule. And so if the people we elected actually did their jobs and were held accountable to do their jobs, we'd have a lot less laws, which is a great thing. And we could hold them accountable a lot better than we can the bureaucrats. So we need to shrink the administrative state by probably about 90%, maybe even more.
That's interesting because I was watching this Canadian professor the other day on YouTube, and he said the same thing, even stronger. He said, the problem with our country here is we got these bureaucrats running things, and if you look at the way it's set up, those are the absolute last people on the planet that you would want running anything. Yeah. And they're running the whole show.
It's true. That's what they say about professors, right?
That's
if you do teach, and this is what the bureaucrats do. If you can't go start a business, go regulate a business. That's the dangerous mindset.
And unfortunately, I also had a customer years ago. He's from India. And he said to me, Scotty, he said, all politicians are failed businessmen.
That's right. That's right. I think Bernie Sanders has been in government for like 60 years and has never had a job outside of it. That's pretty impressive. Just the longevity of that.
I wouldn't call it impressive.
Well, impressive in like a disgusting way. So let's move to the topic of the week. Next Sunday is going to be the Super Bowl. I don't know if either of you guys are football fans, but I'm interested in your opinion that we have 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks to maybe ever play the game in Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Do you think that the Buccaneers can upset the Chiefs who won last year with Patrick Mahomes? Scotty, do you have a prediction? Who are you picking to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I'd like to see Brady win just to show that he's the reason New England was so great and not Belichick, because I think they blow Belichick a bit too big. If he wouldn't have had Brady in there, he made some very bad decisions over who guys to keep and not. They won the Super Bowl with some pretty crappy other guys. He pretty much had them on his back for years, and he was kind of peed off, just like the other day I was reading what Aaron Rodgers said about the Green Bay game, and Aaron Rodgers was peed at Green Bay because he said, hey, Brady goes to Tampa to get him all these guys. They didn't get anything from me. And he ends up losing the game because he doesn't have the horses that Brady. He outplayed Brady in that game by far, but he didn't have the horses. So, hey, I'm all for to see what's going on. I just hope that they don't I'm not that a conspiracy guy, but if you watch a lot of the Super Bowls, unfortunately, I really believe a lot of them are fixed because there's too much money bet on one side or the other. If you remember, you might know, but I'm from Niagara Falls originally. And when the Buffalo Bills got in a Super Bowl, they lost 4 in a row. In the end of one of the games, they were losing by like 3 touchdowns. And Don Beebe caught a touchdown pass for him, and the clock ran out. And he ran out of bounds at the 5-yard line. They would have still lost the game, but they would have beat the spread. And they threw him off the team after the game. So I think there's quite a bit of fixing in those big games that I personally would never bet on any of them because I don't think they're above board, a lot of it. Like they wanted Peyton Manning to win that last Super Bowl. He was terrible. He had the worst rating ever. They cheated against Carolina so bad. If you remember, Newton had that great pass to the guy. He caught it, and then they said it was incomplete. They showed it over that the guy was on his back and the ball was on his stomach. And they still said it was incomplete, but they didn't give any reason. And that kept them from rolling, and Denver ended up winning. So I don't think they're as above board that people think they are. Well,
if it's rigged, I hope it's rigged for Kansas City because I bet them -3. So I'm hoping they win. But your point was right about Rodgers. I mean, they drafted a quarterback in the first round instead of getting him a receiver. And meanwhile, they brought in Antonio Brown and all these great players for him. So he thinks it's fixed, but hopes for Brady to win. Justin, what about you? Who is your prediction if it's not fixed?
I mean, I am for Mahomes. I like Mahomes. I think that Kansas City is a better team, obviously, and I'd like to see him go back to back. And Brady's had his chance, although it's a powerful story, and I like the idea of showing that he can get it done without Belichick versus the other way around. And even Bruce Arians was like, "Look, I let him coach. Like he's a genius." And sometimes I just sit back and let him play make the decisions. And so it's going to be an interesting Super Bowl. It's going to be a good Super Bowl, but I go with the Chiefs on this one.
And that's right. I mean, people keep talking about, is it a system player? Was Brady a system player? And I think we saw that he's not. Maybe Belichick's system is based on Brady. So we're going to do something really fun now. It's going to be all geared towards Scotty. We do this game called This or That. So you have to answer a question. You're going to get 2 choices and give a 1-sentence explanation why. And it's all going to be car related, which is going to be pretty fun. And so we're going to get Scotty's opinion, and we're going to see how little Justin knows about anything. So that'll be really fun to talk about. So Scotty, first thing, better car manufacturer. I think I know the answer to this. Toyota or Honda? What would you rather have?
Toyota for a long life, but Honda for higher quality engines.
Okay, there you go. And I know that you love your
in the world. Their engines are the best in the world, but overall, a Toyota will outlast.
Yeah, Toyota's got.
Okay, Justin, what about?
Toyotas have staying power, that's for sure. And again, going back to what you said about not knowing anything, the great thing about living in this day and age, I can just go watch Scotty's YouTube videos and find out anything I want. I don't have to know this stuff.
That's right. That's true. And I don't know anything about that, and I still ask about it. So here's my next question, which I think is a fun one. What's the better fictional car? The DeLorean or the Batmobile? What would you rather have as a fictional car? Scotty, we'll start with you.
Oh, the Batmobile. The original Batmobile.
Yeah, DeLorean or
Batmobile. Batmobile engine in it. And the DeLorean had the piece of crap Volvo 6-cylinder underpowered thing with a French transmission on it. They were terrible cars.
But they bring you back in time. Isn't that That's my thing? Like, I think I'm going to go with the DeLorean only because I time travel is pretty high up there on my bucket list. So I think I'd go with
it's the special features, not the leather seats, but the time travel is what has really got you going.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
What's the better movie about cars? The Fast and Furious or the Cars Disney movie, the animated movie? Which one would you rather take, Scotty?
Oh, the Fast and Furious, obviously. That's, got some interesting cars. As a matter of fact, I had one of them over here the other day, the Evo. One of those Evos, the Mitsubishi Evos over here with the wings and everything on it. Yeah, that's a more interesting movie. I'm not into cartoon movies. I'm more of a realist. Like, I would much rather watch a documentary that's really well made than some fantasy movie that people made up.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
The Fast and Furious is obviously in fact, but Justin, what about you? What do you think?
Fast and the Furious, but like the first one. What are there, like 12 now or something?
Not like the 13th one. Okay, so you're like the original. Yeah, that was when Paul Walker was still in and all that. So yeah, we went and RIP to Paul Walker. But those
rest in peace.
Those aren't. And I'm sure, Scotty, you probably see a lot of just incredible cars that come in to see you. I'm sure you see a lot of stuff like that on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, it's fun. I'm easily bored. I would never spend my money on one because I could get somebody else's ride it around. And they're a lot of fun. They all have their pluses and minuses. But when it comes to driving in the real world, I mean, a guy brought me over a Lotus the other day, and it really was fun driving it around. But I mean, who wants to spend $100,000 on a car? Sure, it can go 180 miles an hour, but how often are you really driving 180 miles an hour? I have to say, one of the most fun cars I've had in years was the brand new Mazda Miata Grand Touring. They gave me one for a week. and it was fast enough, and it was a really fun little car. And it was only all loaded. I think it was like 34,000 or something. So that's as far as I'd ever really want to go, because I get to ride around the other ones I'm too cheap to spend the money on. I've got it. I just won't spend it.
You get the Mazda Miata and a house for the price of one of those cars. That's a much better deal, I think. So what is the better? Yeah. What is the better song about cars? Lowrider or Little Red Corvette by Prince? Which one do you like better?
Little Red Corvette.
Okay. What about you, Justin?
I'll go with Lowrider. Just to shake things up.
Can you do the voice, the low rider? Can I hear that voice from you, Justin, or not?
I'll let you do that.
Yeah. Okay. Because my voice is so deep.
But I've ridden around on low riders. Low riders look cool, but they ride like crap.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Okay. So good song, but bad vehicle. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I don't like going slow either. I like going fast.
Just not for all the money. So what is the most infamous car? OJ's Ford Bronco or the JFK limo? What is more of an infamous car in history?
Well, the problem is, I mean, truly infamous would be the JFK one, but the OJ got so much press out of that thing that if you ask most people in the world, they all know the Bronco because it was more modern. They saw it on TV going around. But historically, of course, the Kennedy's a heck of a lot more important than him riding around that stupid little Bronco 20 miles an hour on a highway.
Yeah, I think what happened
Justin?
In the car, it's obviously JFK. But if you saw like the exact limo that JFK was shot in driving down the street, you wouldn't really pay attention. But if you saw a white Ford Bronco, you'd be like, there goes OJ. Even today, that would like cross your mind that OJ is driving in it. And so I think that it would be the Bronco.
Do you think that helped Ford Bronco's sales, or do you think it hurt it after that happened?
Well, back then, they were going on the downside anyway. And you notice they're bringing a new one out. They're not mentioning anything about that either. So they're pretty politically correct. Back then, they were kind of going down anyway. And that was, that was the cheaper version when he was riding around. All the money the guy had, you think he'd be in something a little fancier than that. But I believe it was his friends.
I think it was his friends, yeah.
Yeah, the guy that used to block for him for the Buffalo Bills who went out there with him to L.A. I mean, I always get a laugh because I grew up in Niagara Falls next to Buffalo, right? And they always talk about OJ, the great runner. Well, actually, he wasn't, because he only won one playoff game, and he get all these yards because Buffalo would be losing 42-7, and he started to run, and he was a big, giant guy. And the defensive backs are like, I'm not going to kill myself tackling this guy. Let him get a touchdown. We're winning by 5 touchdowns. What does it matter? It's like the quarterback.
Right. Yeah, he was actually better in college.
Look at the quarterbacks who suffer. Who set the passing records this year? The Houston Texans quarterback. They lost almost all their games. He got all this passing yards when they're getting their butts kicked, and it meant nothing.
That reminds me of Bill's great quarterback, J.P. Losman, who was just terrible, but they were down by so much he could have 400 yards with 3 interceptions. But yes, that's not. But he was a much better college player, right? He was a Heisman Trophy. He actually had to sell his Heisman Trophy when he got it down. So super pro. So before we go, Scott, I just want to ask you a couple of questions kind of about you moving here. Because, I mean, you are a huge name to come to Tennessee, and you came from the relatively free place of Texas. So I'm interested, first of all, what made you decide to move here after 40 years in Texas, and how do you like Clarksville so far?
Well, one, I got a couple of grandkids here, so yeah, that's one reason. And two, Texas used to be like this is now. Texas, the urban areas have become too yuppified. Like my next door neighbor behind me sold his lot for $500,000. They put up 2 $900,000 townhomes, and 2 women from California came, both with brand new Porsche Taycans. And I'm like, this is too yuppified. It's too yuppified for me. And here, it's nice. It's open. People are friendly, and it's not fake friendly. And like I said, with the English people aren't piled on top and next door to each other. They got plenty enough space that you're not going to be getting crowded in. I remember we used to come back from Galveston to the beach going to Houston. There was always on the highway a big sign, and it said, "Live like people, not like bees." And they're trying to sell suburban houses instead of living in downtown in a condo. And they had a point, yeah.
And Justin, you talk sometimes about why all these people moving here, like people from California, that you say how important it is that these people understand why they're coming here, right?
Yeah, don't California my Tennessee is a big slogan, and we want to send welcome packets to those who move here to remind them, you came here for low taxes. Don't go, oh, well, taxes aren't so bad, we can afford to raise them a little bit. Don't move here and go, I moved here because I couldn't stand all the lockdowns and the COVID restrictions, and go, oh, well, we need to shut our businesses back in order to protect public health. I mean, we do things here for a reason, and we are successful for a reason. So remember that when you come here, and don't bring those values with you.
Oh, yeah. I remember years ago, we went to Ketchum, Idaho, and all the California people were moving to Idaho. And so the locals got mad because instead of inheriting your mother's house, they were selling their house. They paid $15,000 for $500,000, and the California guys moved to Florida. So when they saw California cars, they were throwing stones through the windows and stuff. And then they thought, oh, well, they bought their Idaho license plates in California and drove them. But driving in a 600 SL Mercedes or a Porsche, it was obvious who they were, and they still kept breaking.
The biggest thing we don't want to export from Texas is the hipsters from Austin. If we can keep the hipsters out, I think everybody agrees that would be better for Nashville.
Yep, keep Austin weird. Really, keep it there.
They don't call themselves hipsters. It's fascinating.
Now? Just weirdos?
Most groups will say, okay, I'm a hippie, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a redneck, but they don't call themselves hipsters. They are, but they don't call themselves. It's weird.
I make hipster everyone who I don't like. So that includes hippies. That includes just anybody I don't like is a hipster. That's what I say. So the last thing, Scotty, is I know that you have, an incredible amount of viewers. I would say tell people how they can find you. I mean, I know that you have way more viewers than we do, but just for people who they care about public policy, they might not know, but they still don't know to fix their cars. So tell people your website, how to watch videos, and you have some great merchandise too. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, but I don't care about that. That doesn't mean anything to me. I just like helping people out. They just go to the Scotty Kilmer channel on YouTube, and they can find absolutely everything that they want. That's all I care about is helping out. I already have like 1.3 billion views. Not million, billion.
That's amazing.
That is an insane number. Can you think about what 1 billion views is? People can't grasp how much that is. That's probably more than almost anybody in America. You got to be like top 10 in the country in that.
Oh, yeah, I'm having fun with it though, and I'm helping people out. That's what I like. I'm not. I don't do paid sponsorships because the money that I get is just Google shotgun ads. I just signed a thing that says I will allow any ads. I don't care. I have nothing to do with it, so people can't say, well, they advertised and that made you say this tool was good. No, I don't. I don't take advertising from anybody.
And before we just explain what your channel is, so it's for people like me and Justin who might not know anything about something, and you really do find this incredible way of being likable and explaining to people who have no idea what the hell they're talking about how to do something. That's amazing. What made you think of this concept?
Well, it was kind of obvious because, see, I started at CBS TV with Crank It Up with Scotty, and I saw, okay, so I'm on Houston TV. And I'd go on, and their viewership would go from like 200,000 people to like 800,000 people when I was on, and then back down when I got off. So I thought, well, that's only one city. Imagine if I could see the world. Now, back then, the internet wasn't a big thing. So it was television owned all the media, so you had to play by their rules. And they would say, you can't say this, you can't say that, because our sponsors wouldn't like you saying their products are crap. But when the internet came out and opened up, and you could tell anybody on the planet, hey, that's great for everybody. Guys like right now, we can talk about stuff. Nobody's saying you can't say this, you can't say that, and if you're helping people out, great. And I figured, well, it's got to work. Why wouldn't it work? Because people don't know much about cars, and people lie to all the time about repairs. And they say the two most hated people in the United States are mechanics and politicians because they don't trust what any of them say.
That's right. Well, sorry for the technical difficulty there, but Scotty, we really appreciate all of this. Thank you for sharing your insight. I mean, I think that you've got a lot of great things, and we really appreciate your time. And we're going to be kind of posting this online, and we'll send you some of the comments. I'm sure everyone's going to like you. You're the most likable mechanic I've ever met. I can tell you that much. So thanks for joining us.
You're a lot better than a politician.
That's right. A lot better than a politician.
Yeah, but I'm the rare mechanic. I'm an honest mechanic. They're hard to find.
There you go. That's right. Well, thank you all for joining us on Overcaffeinated, and we will be back next month with a very special guest. But again, we were very lucky to have Scotty Kilmer. So thanks again, Scotty. We appreciate your time.